Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Best English Podcast. This is Sarah, and this is episode 54. Today, we are addressing something very important, something that frustrates thousands of English learners. Perhaps it frustrates you too. Let me describe a common situation. You are watching an English movie. You understand most of it. You are listening to a podcast. You follow the ideas. You are reading an article. You comprehend the meaning. Your understanding is good. But then, someone asks you a question in English, or you need to express an idea. And suddenly, everything changes. The words don't come. The sentences feel wrong. The confidence disappears. If this sounds familiar, you are experiencing what I call the Great Divide. The gap between understanding and speaking, between comprehension and expression, between passive knowledge and active ability. Today, we are going to build a bridge across that divide. We are going to discover why this gap exists. We are going to learn how to cross it. And we are going to practice together, step by step. Welcome to From Understanding to Speaking, the bridge everyone misses. Before we begin, if you are ready to bridge this gap in your English, please subscribe to the channel. Your support helps me create more content like this. Now, let's understand the problem. First, I want you to know something very important. The gap between understanding and speaking is normal. It is not your fault. It is not because you are not smart enough. It is not because you are not working hard enough. It is because of how our brains process language. Understanding and speaking use different brain pathways. Understanding is primarily receptive. Your brain receives information. It processes sounds or text. It accesses meaning from memory. This happens in what we might call the comprehension pathway. Speaking is productive. Your brain must generate ideas. It must find words. It must arrange grammar. It must coordinate mouth movements. This happens in the production pathway. These two pathways are connected, but they are not the same. You can have a strong comprehension pathway and a weak production pathway. This is exactly what happens for most intermediate English learners. Let me give you a metaphor. Think of your English knowledge as a library. When you are listening or reading, you are visiting the library. You are looking at books on shelves. You can find information. You can understand it. This is your comprehension pathway, visiting the library. But when you need to speak, you are not just visiting the library. You need to write a new book using what you know. You need to create something original. This is much harder. This is your production pathway, creating new content from the library's resources. Most English learning focuses on adding more books to your library, more vocabulary, more grammar rules, more listening practice. This is important, but it doesn't teach you how to write new books, how to create original sentences, how to express your own thoughts. That is the bridge everyone misses, the bridge from having knowledge to using knowledge, from understanding to creating. There are three main reasons why this gap exists for English learners. Reason 1. Different processing speeds. When you listen, you have time. The speaker gives you the words. Your brain processes at its own pace. You can pause, you can re-listen. You can use context clues. When you speak, you must produce language in real time. You must think of ideas, find words, arrange grammar, and pronounce correctly, all simultaneously. This requires much faster processing. Your production pathway needs to become automatic, while your comprehension pathway can be more deliberate. Reason 2. The activation threshold. Words in your comprehension vocabulary are passive. You recognize them when you hear or see them, but they are not necessarily ready for use. Words in your speaking vocabulary are active. They are immediately accessible. You can retrieve them quickly without conscious effort. Moving words from passive to active vocabulary requires a different kind of practice. It requires production practice, not just recognition practice. Reason 3. The monitoring problem. Many English learners have what I call an overactive monitor. This is the part of your brain that checks for errors. When you are listening, your monitor helps you. It helps you analyze language. It helps you understand. But when you are speaking, an overactive monitor can paralyze you. It checks every word before you say it. It looks for grammar mistakes. It worries about pronunciation. This slows you down. This creates hesitation. This is why you sometimes freeze when trying to speak. Now that we understand why the gap exists, let's talk about how to bridge it. Let's talk about the missing piece that connects understanding and speaking. The bridge between understanding and speaking has a name. It is called noticing. But there are actually two kinds of noticing. Most learners only do one kind. You need to do both. Noticing type 1, comprehension noticing. This is what you already do when you listen or read. You notice new words. You notice interesting phrases. You notice grammar patterns. You understand meaning. This is input noticing. It is essential, but it is not enough for speaking. Noticing type 2, production noticing. This is what most learners miss. Production noticing means paying attention to how language is produced, how sentences are constructed, how words are connected, how ideas are expressed. It is noticing with the intention of using, not just understanding. Let me give you an example. You are listening to a podcast. The speaker says, "I've been meaning to tell you about this for a while." With comprehension noticing, you think, "I understand. The speaker wants to tell me something." With production noticing, you think, "That's a useful phrase. I've been meaning to. I could use that. When could I use it? Maybe, I've been meaning to call you," or "I've been meaning to try that restaurant." Do you see the difference? Production noticing is active. It is intentional. It is about collecting tools for your own use. All framework for building this bridge. I call it the Bridge Building Framework. It has 3 pillars, 3 practices that connect understanding to speaking. Pillar 1, selective attention. When you listen to English, don't just try to understand everything. That is too vague. Instead, choose one thing to notice specifically. For example, today, I will notice how speakers start their sentences. Today, I will notice phrases for agreeing and disagreeing. Today, I will notice how speakers describe problems. Today, I will notice transition words. By focusing on specific aspects, you train your brain to notice production patterns, not just meaning. Pillar 2, mental repurposing. When you hear something useful, immediately think, "How could I use this?" Repurpose it in your mind. Change the subject, change the context, make it personal. For example, you hear, "The project is taking longer than expected." Mental repurposing. "My English learning is taking longer than expected." Or, "Dinner is taking longer than expected." This simple mental exercise builds connections between what you understand and what you might say. Pillar 3, micro-production. After noticing and repurposing, produce. Say something, even if just to yourself, even if just a whisper, even if just in your mind, but produce. The sequence is notice, repurpose, produce. This sequence builds the bridge. It connects input to output. Now, let's make this even more practical. Let's talk about daily exercises that build this bridge. Building the bridge between understanding and speaking requires daily practice. But not just any practice, specific practice that targets the connection. Here are 7 bridge-building exercises. You can do these every day. They don't require much time, but they create powerful connections. Exercise 1. The sentence collector. When you listen to English, whether a podcast, video, or conversation, collect one useful sentence. Just one. Write it down, or remember it. Then do 3 things with that sentence. Analyze it. What makes it useful? What structure does it use? Personalize it. Change it to make it about your life. Say it aloud, 5 times, with feeling, with intention. For example, you hear, "I can't believe how quickly time is passing." Analyze. This is a common pattern. I can't believe how, adjective, noun, is, verb, ing. Personalize. I can't believe how quickly my children are growing. Say it aloud, 5 times with natural rhythm. This exercise takes 3 minutes, but it builds the bridge powerfully. Exercise 2. The echo game. Listen to a short segment of English, maybe 10 to 15 seconds. Then, pause. Try to repeat exactly what you heard. Not just the words, the rhythm, the intonation, the feeling. This is called shadowing, but with a bridge-building twist. After you echo, immediately say something original using the same pattern. For example, you hear, "I was thinking we could maybe grab coffee sometime." You echo it exactly. Then you create, "I was thinking we could maybe watch a movie sometime." You are echoing, then immediately producing. This builds neural connections between comprehension and production. Exercise 3. The gap fill. Listen to English with a transcript, but cover parts of the transcript. Listen. When you reach a covered part, try to fill it yourself. Predict what comes next. Start with small gaps, maybe single words. Then try longer gaps, phrases or clauses. This exercise forces your brain to shift from passive reception to active production. Even though you are filling someone else's words, you are practicing production. Exercise 4. The summary switch. Listen to something in English, then summarize it aloud. But here is the switch. First, summarize in your native language if you want. Get the ideas clear. Then, immediately switch to English. Say the same summary in English. This exercise acknowledges that ideas often come first in your native language. The bridge is translating those ideas into English. By practicing this switch consciously, you build the translation bridge faster. Exercise 5. The question generator. While listening, generate questions. Not just comprehension questions, production questions. Questions you might ask about the topic. Questions you might ask the speaker. For example, you listen to a story about someone's vacation. Generate questions. Where exactly did you stay? What was the best part? Would you go again? Formulating questions is excellent production practice, and it connects directly to what you are understanding. Exercise 6. The opinion bridge. After listening to something, form an opinion about it. Then express that opinion aloud in English, even if just to yourself. Start simple. I agree because, or I disagree because, or what surprised me was. This exercise builds the bridge from understanding content to expressing thoughts about content. Exercise 7. The vocabulary activator. When you learn a new word through listening, don't just note the meaning. Immediately create 3 sentences using that word. Say them aloud. This moves vocabulary from passive recognition to active production immediately. These 7 exercises, done regularly, will build your bridge. They will connect your understanding to your speaking. They will close the gap. Now, let's talk about a specific problem that makes this gap feel wider. Hesitation. Hesitation is the visible symptom of the gap between understanding and speaking. You understand, you have ideas, but when you try to speak, you hesitate. You pause. You say or You feel stuck. Hesitation happens for several reasons. You are searching for the right word. You are checking grammar. You are worrying about pronunciation. You are translating from your native language. You are planning the entire sentence before speaking. All of these come from the gap, from the production pathway not being automatic yet. Here is how to overcome hesitation. Not by eliminating pauses completely, even native speakers pause, but by reducing excessive hesitation, by making your production smoother. Strategy 1. Chunk speaking. Don't try to produce perfect full sentences immediately. Start with chunks, small groups of words that naturally go together. Instead of planning, I want to tell you about my vacation last summer, which was in Spain, and we visited Barcelona, and start with chunks. I want to tell you about my vacation last summer, which was in Spain. Speaking in chunks reduces the cognitive load. It gives you small successes. It builds momentum. Strategy 2. Fillered phrases. Instead of filling hesitation with or use meaningful fillers. Phrases that give you time but also communicate. For example, that's a good question. Let me think about that. Well, there are a couple of things. Actually, I was just thinking. These fillers sound more fluent, and they give your brain time to access language. Strategy 3. The simple truth principle. When you feel stuck, say something simple and true. Don't try to be impressive. Don't try to use advanced vocabulary. Just communicate. For example, if asked about a complex topic, you could say, "That's complicated, but one simple thing I think is..." This reduces pressure. It allows you to speak even when you don't have perfect language ready. Strategy 4. Prefabricated chunks. Prepare some useful chunks in advance, phrases you can use in many situations. For example, in my experience, from what I understand, the way I see it, if you ask me, having these ready gives you starting points. It reduces the blank page problem of speaking. Strategy 5. Fluency first, accuracy later. Give yourself permission to make mistakes. Focus first on keeping going, on maintaining flow. You can self-correct later if needed. Many learners hesitate because they are trying to be perfect. But perfect is the enemy of good, and good is the enemy of spoken. Overcoming hesitation is about building confidence in your production pathway. It is about trusting that you can produce language even if it is not perfect. The bridge exercises we discussed will build this confidence over time. Now, let's talk about a specific daily practice that combines everything. I want to give you a complete daily routine, a routine that systematically builds the bridge between understanding and speaking. This routine takes 30 to 40 minutes total, but it can be broken into smaller parts throughout the day. Morning. Input with intention, 10 minutes. Start your day with English input, but with specific intention. Choose a short listening piece, 5 to 7 minutes. It could be a podcast segment, a YouTube video, part of an audiobook. Before listening, set a bridge-building intention. For example, today I will notice how speakers express opinions. Today I will collect 3 useful sentence starters. Today I will pay attention to past tense narratives. Listen actively. Take brief notes on your intention focus. After listening, spend 3 minutes on bridge building. Choose one sentence or phrase you heard. Personalize it. Say it aloud 5 times. This morning practice sets your brain for bridge building all day. Afternoon. Bridge practice, 15 to 20 minutes. This is your main bridge building session. Choose one of these focus areas each day. Day 1. Sentence patterns. Find sentences with useful patterns. For example, I'm having trouble verbing, or it seems like clause. Practice changing elements. Create your own versions. Record yourself saying your versions. Day 2. Question formation. Listen to questions in interviews or conversations. Notice how questions are formed. Practice forming your own questions on similar topics. Say them aloud. Day 3. Storytelling. Listen to a short story or anecdote. Notice how it's structured, beginning, middle, end. Practice telling a similar story from your life. Focus on the structure, not perfection. Day 4. Opinion expression. Listen to people expressing opinions. Notice phrases like, in my view, or I tend to think. Practice expressing opinions on topics you care about. Day 5. Description practice. Listen to descriptions of people, places, things. Notice the vocabulary and structure. Practice describing something in your environment. Day 6. Conversation patterns. Listen to conversations. Notice turn-taking, agreements, disagreements. Practice imaginary conversations. Day 7. Review and integration. Review your bridge building from the week. Revisit useful patterns. Practice integrating them into longer speech. Evening. Production practice, 5 to 10 minutes. End your day with pure production. No input, just output. Choose one of these. Describe your day aloud in English. Explain something you learned today. Express an opinion about something. Tell a short story from your memory. Plan something for tomorrow in English. The key is speak continuously for 3 to 5 minutes. Don't stop. Don't worry about mistakes, just produce. This evening practice strengthens your production pathway independently of input. This daily routine systematically builds the bridge. Morning connects input to potential output. Afternoon practices specific bridge skills. Evening strengthens pure production. Now, let's address some common questions and concerns. As you work on building your bridge, questions will arise. Let me address the most common ones. Question 1. Should I think in English? Many learners ask this. They try to force themselves to think in English all the time. This can be exhausting. My advice? Don't force constant English thinking. Instead, create English thinking moments. Designated times when you consciously think in English. For example, while showering, describe what you're doing in English. While commuting, plan your day in English. While cooking, think through the steps in English. These moments build the bridge naturally. Forced constant thinking often leads to frustration. Question 2. How much should I focus on grammar when speaking? Grammar is important, but during speaking practice, fluency should come first. Get your ideas out. Communicate. You can work on grammar during focused study time. During speaking practice, focus on communication. Self-correct later if you notice errors, but don't let grammar checking interrupt your flow. Question 3. What if I don't have anyone to practice with? You don't need a partner to build the bridge. All the exercises I've shared can be done alone. Self-talk is powerful practice. If you want more interaction, consider language exchange apps, online conversation groups, recording yourself and getting feedback, talking to AI conversation partners. But remember, bridge building starts with you, with your own production practice. Question 4. How long until I see improvement? Bridge building shows results quickly if done consistently. You might notice small improvements in days, less hesitation, quicker access to vocabulary, more automatic sentence formation. Significant improvement takes weeks to months, but the daily progress keeps you motivated. Question 5. Should I learn more vocabulary to speak better? More vocabulary helps, but it's not the main issue. Most intermediate learners already know enough vocabulary for basic conversation. The problem is accessing it quickly. Focus on activating the vocabulary you already have, on moving words from passive to active. This often brings faster speaking improvement than learning new words. Question 6. What about pronunciation? Clear pronunciation is important for communication, but perfect native-like pronunciation is not necessary for the bridge. Focus on being understandable. Work on problematic sounds that affect understanding, but don't let pronunciation perfectionism stop you from speaking. These questions show that bridge building is as much about mindset as about method. Now, let's talk about mindset specifically. Building the bridge between understanding and speaking requires more than exercises. It requires a specific mindset, a way of thinking about your English learning. Here are the key mindset shifts for bridge building. Shift 1. From consumer to creator. See yourself not just as a consumer of English content, but as a creator of English speech. Every time you listen, think, how could I use this? Actively look for creation opportunities. Shift 2. From perfection to progress. Aim for progress, not perfection. Celebrate small production successes. A complete sentence, a clear question, a understood description. These are bridge-building victories. Shift 3. From comparison to personal journey. Don't compare your speaking to others. Your bridge is unique. Your speaking journey is personal. Focus on your progress from yesterday to today. Shift 4. From fear to curiosity. When you make mistakes, be curious, not fearful. That's interesting. I said it that way. How would a native say it? Curiosity builds bridges. Fear builds walls. Shift 5. From occasional to integrated. Integrate bridge building into your daily life, not as an extra task, but as part of how you engage with English. Every English interaction becomes a bridge building opportunity. This mindset transforms bridge building from a chore to a natural part of your English journey. Now, let's talk about specific challenges you might face and how to overcome them. Even with the right mindset and methods, you'll face challenges. Here are common bridge building challenges and how to overcome them. Challenge 1. The blank mind. You try to speak and your mind goes blank. No words come. Solution. Have starters ready. Simple phrases that begin speech. Well, that's interesting because I have mixed feelings about that. From my perspective, that reminds me of these starters give your brain time to access language. Challenge 2. The translation trap. You think in your native language, then translate. This slows you down. Solution. Practice thinking in simple English concepts, not full translations. Instead of translating complete thoughts, think in keywords, in images, in feelings. Then find English for those. Challenge 3, the complexity problem. You try to say something complex and get stuck. Solution: simplify first. Say the simple truth, then add details if you can. It's better to say something simple clearly than something complex confusingly. Challenge 4, the self-consciousness barrier. You feel silly speaking to yourself, or you worry about how you sound. Solution: start small. Whisper. Speak when alone. Record yourself and listen back to get used to your English voice. Remember, every English speaker started somewhere. Challenge 5, the inconsistency problem. You practice speaking sometimes, but not regularly. Solution: anchor bridge building to existing habits. Practice while doing something else, while walking, while cooking, while commuting. This builds consistency naturally. Challenge 6, the plateau. You feel like you're not improving despite practice. Solution: change your practice focus. If you've been working on descriptions, switch to storytelling. If you've been practicing alone, try with a partner. Novelty stimulates learning. These challenges are normal. Every bridge builder faces them. The key is persistence. Consistent practice builds the bridge, even when progress feels slow. Now, let's talk about a powerful technique that accelerates bridge building. I want to share with you one of the most powerful bridge building techniques. I call it the parallel narrative technique. This technique systematically connects listening and speaking in a meaningful way. Here's how it works. Step 1, find a short narrative. This could be a personal story from a podcast, an anecdote from an interview, a short fable or tale, a personal experience description. The narrative should be 1 to 3 minutes long. It should be interesting to you. Step 2, listen for structure. Listen to the narrative several times. Don't just understand it. Analyze its structure. How does it begin? How does it develop? How does it end? What transitions are used? Step 3, create a parallel narrative. Now, create your own story with a similar structure, on a completely different topic, but using the same narrative framework. For example, if the original story is about how I learned to cook, your parallel narrative might be about how I learned to swim. Same structure, different content. Step 4, tell your parallel narrative. Practice telling your parallel narrative aloud. Use the same structural elements as the original, the same transition words, the same pacing. Step 5, gradually vary. Once comfortable with the parallel narrative, start varying it. Change the structure slightly. Add your own elements. Make it truly yours. This technique works because it gives you a scaffold, a framework. You are not creating from nothing. You are recreating with guidance. This builds production confidence. The parallel narrative technique can be used with different types of content: stories, explanations, opinions, descriptions, instructions. Each type builds different production skills. Now, let's talk about how to measure your bridge building progress. Bridge building progress can be subtle. You need to know what to look for. Here are signs that your bridge is growing stronger. Sign 1, reduced hesitation time. You pause less between thoughts. You access words more quickly. Sign 2, increased sentence length. You can produce longer sentences without planning them completely. Sign 3, more automatic responses. Common responses come more naturally. You don't have to think about every word. Sign 4, better error self-correction. You notice your own errors more quickly. You can sometimes self-correct while speaking. Sign 5, increased speaking stamina. You can speak for longer periods without mental fatigue. Sign 6, more varied language. You use a wider range of structures and vocabulary in spontaneous speech. Sign 7, Less native language interference. You think less in your native language while speaking English. Sign 8. Improved flow. Your speech has better rhythm and pacing. It sounds more natural. Track these signs monthly. Notice small improvements. They indicate your bridge is growing stronger. Now, I want to address a critical question. How much bridge building practice versus comprehension practice? Some learners worry, if I focus on speaking, will my listening suffer? Or should I stop listening practice to focus on speaking? The answer is balance. Both are important, but the balance changes as you progress. For B1 learners, I recommend this balance: 60% comprehension practice, listening, reading, 40% production practice, speaking, writing. But here's the key. Your comprehension practice should include bridge-building elements, active noticing, mental repurposing, as we discussed earlier. And your production practice should include comprehension elements, listening to model language, analyzing structures. They feed each other. Comprehension provides material for production. Production reveals gaps in comprehension. Think of it as a cycle. Comprehension provides input. Bridge-building processes that input for production. Production practice uses that processed input. Production reveals what needs more comprehension. Back to comprehension with specific needs. This cycle accelerates learning. It makes both comprehension and production stronger. Now, let's talk about your first week of bridge building, a specific plan to get started. I want to give you a specific plan for your first week of focused bridge building. Follow this plan and you will feel the bridge starting to form. Day 1, Awareness Day. Today, just notice. When you listen to English, pay attention to your own reactions. What do you understand easily? What is difficult? When do you think, I wish I could say that? Just observe, take notes. Day 2, Sentence Collection. Collect 5 useful sentences from your English exposure today. Write them down. For each one, say it aloud 3 times. Then change one element to make it personal. Say your version 3 times. Day 3, Question Practice. Listen to English conversations. Notice the questions people ask. Practice forming similar questions on different topics. Say them aloud. Day 4, Description Practice. Describe your environment aloud in English for 2 minutes. Don't stop. Don't worry about mistakes. Just describe what you see. Day 5, Story Practice. Tell a simple story from your life, maybe what you did yesterday. Practice telling it aloud 3 times. Each time, try to make it a little smoother. Day 6, Opinion Practice. Express opinions aloud about simple topics. I think coffee is better than tea. I believe exercise is important. Practice stating and supporting opinions. Day 7, Integration Day. Review your week. What felt easier? What was challenging? Choose one bridge-building exercise to continue daily next week. This first week builds awareness and basic skills. It starts the bridge-building habit. After this week, continue with the daily routine we discussed earlier. Now, let's address one final important topic: patience. Bridge building takes patience. Language production pathways develop slowly. They strengthen with repetition over time. Some days, you will feel the bridge is strong. Words flow easily. Other days, it will feel shaky. You will struggle. This is normal. Building the bridge between understanding and speaking is like building a physical bridge. It takes time. It requires consistent work. There are no shortcuts. But every day you practice, you add another piece to your bridge, another connection, another strengthening. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate small progress. Trust the process. The bridge will form. We have covered a lot today, from understanding why the gap exists to specific exercises for bridging it, from mindset shifts to practical routines. Now, I want to give you your final assignment. Your bridge won't build itself. You need to commit to building it. Here is your commitment plan. Step 1. Choose your starting point. Which bridge building exercise will you start with? The sentence collector? The parallel narrative? Choose one. Step 2. Schedule your practice. When will you practice? Morning? Evening? During your commute? Put it in your calendar. Step 3. Set your first week goal. What will you achieve in your first week? Maybe, I will collect and personalize one sentence every day. Make it specific and achievable. Step 4. Find accountability. Tell someone about your commitment, or join our community in the comments. Accountability helps consistency. Step 5. Begin today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Start with one small bridge building action. I believe you can build this bridge. I have seen countless learners do it, from frustration to fluency, from understanding to confident speaking. Your bridge is waiting to be built. You have the tools. You have the understanding. Now, you need the practice. The gap between understanding and speaking is not permanent. It is not fixed. It is a bridge waiting to be built, and you are the builder. Thank you for listening today. Thank you for your commitment to your English journey. Building this bridge will transform your English experience. It will open new possibilities for communication and connection. This is Sarah from Best English Podcast. I believe in your bridge building journey. I will see you on the other side of the gap. Happy bridge building, everyone.